still on 1 on state, 1557.
Got a 540 stash right now until
2597, copy your 1042, half of
Medic 72, motor vehicle accident, Woodlands Parkway, Interstate 45, stand by for further direction, 1714. 72 received. It's going to be on Woodlands Parkway, Medic 72. Do we have any ideas, east or west? I don't know yet, everybody's still on the line.
Okay.
Sir, just by you.
I'll let that be known for me. Now it's going to take two people for every one of us to go in. We're trying to do the best we can. I'm not sure what's going on. all these motherfuckers, man.
Taking camera, taking pictures. What happened to the lot?
Okay, Chief, can you give me your name, please?
Assistant Chief Greg Carter from Needham Fire Department.
Can you spell your last name?
Carter.
And can you tell us what happened out here? What y'all did predicate drowning today?
We basically were alerted for a water rescue. Upon arrival, we had one victim that had extricated himself from the water and advised that we had one other victim in the water approximately 20 yards offshore. So we called for a watercraft assignment and water rescue. And unfortunately, we had nothing we could do other than a body recovery. It took us about 40 minutes to effect the recovery.
Chief, tell me a little bit about this debris and what all this. I know there's a lot of debris laying around this. Is the same thing in the lake?
There's a lot of debris under the water, a lot of rock, cinder block trees, and apparently that's what our victim got hung up on.
Okay, and the one victim that was in there that came out, did y'all have to pull him out, or was he out on his own, or what?
No, he had managed to remove himself from the water upon arrival.
And what kind of condition was he, do you know?
He was conscious and alert and just shaken up.
And transported to?
I believe they transported him to Woodlands.
Okay. Good condition, though? Nothing?
I couldn't comment on his condition. Paramedics handled it. Rain and heavy when the call came out, so with the heavy rainstorm.
This area does flood quite a bit too, doesn't it, back in here?
It does flood quite a bit. It's quite flooded now.
Yeah. You said something, they thought something pulled them under, though?
They felt something pull them down and hold them, but you know we can't be sure what it
Well,
was.
there's been alligator reports, but no indication of anything to the victims at all.
No, there's
something like that.
no indication of alligators.
Okay. Not at this time. The investigation will be ongoing as we try to discover exactly what factors led up to the deceased being in the water. What we do know for now is that the deceased was recovered in a recovery effort by the Woodlands Fire Department, the South Montgomery County Fire Department, Needham Road Volunteer Fire Department, in their recovery efforts to locate the body as a result of what appears to be some sort of drowning. But what contributed to that, we don't know at this time. And we had 2 people actually in the water. That's correct. From what we understand, without releasing names, we have 2 individuals that were down by the water, both of which ended up in the water, whether one was a rescue effort that ended up having issues related to hypothermia that necessitated emergency medical care and transportation to the hospital, or whether or not there was something more. We don't know at this time, and we'll continue the investigation to determine. At this time, we'll be changing the location of our investigation to the hospital where we meet with the survivor and try to better understand what factors led up to the situation where the deceased being in the water. Now, you had was it a brother was transported? We have a second party, and at this time we're not releasing names or relationships until we're able to notify all family members of the deceased.
Constable, could either one of the gentlemen swim?
It's unknown at this time. We'll try to discover a lot more information, factors contributing, health care or health and wellness of each of the parties involved, as well eyewitness accounts as what they first saw when they arrived on the scene, and what information they can provide to investigators to help us better understand what contributed to this accident. What we do know for sure, that it appears based on eyewitness account that debris in the waterway is a major contributing factor. According to eyewitnesses, it appeared that the deceased leg was caught in either a branch or a limb or something, and if you look directly over my shoulder, you will notice that there's a considerable amount of refuge and rubbish and limbs that have been stacked up on the edge of the waterway, which very well could have ended up in the waterway as they try to push more and more rubbish onto that edge of the roadway.
Constable, since you worked in this area first time for a drown in this
it is the first what appears to be at this point an accidental drowning that occurred on this particular waterway worked by the constable's office. However, if memory serves me correctly, this is not the first in this actual body of water. There might have been one several years ago.
Sir, the debris dumping here. Now, this is basically landowners doing this, or we even know?
At this point in time, we don't know. What we do understand from residents in the immediate areas is this is used by two tree service companies for storing of their material. Whether or not people see them storing their material and begin to dump their rubbish, their refuge in this area is unknown, but what we do know is we definitely have a considerable amount of limbs, trees, logs, plastics, bottles, trash of that nature, which certainly can go to clog up our drainage and contribute to flooding in the area as the county tries to maintain open drainage systems. Issues like this, and especially when you have floating logs continuing to block those waterways, is a contributing factor.
Now, this is also a major factor. This debris was a major factor in being able to get the response for getting boats in the water, and also having to actually physically carry the boats in the water instead of backing to the water's edge.
Absolutely, and anytime you have a situation where you have rubbish, you have debris, you have unwanted materials in the way which inhibit a emergency personnel's response, that could delay a rescue, could also delay a recovery. Those are major factors, and I'll defer to the fire department on their exact explanation on how much delay it impacted their rescue or their recovery efforts. But it was very apparent being here on the scene that it did take a considerable amount of personnel just to simply lift the boat, because they couldn't back up to the edge of the waterway to get it in there to begin their recovery and rescue efforts.
And once looking for the victim with the branches, everything else, catching branches and everything else down below the surface of the water there.
Those again are factors which will delay a recovery and hamper a rescue effort.
Constable, is there going to be a county effort to block off this, or can there be?
At this point, I will tell you that our effort will be one to learn what factors contributed in this particular accident, so that we could notify the family members of those factors and at least allow somewhat of closure. Will this help us in getting residents to notify us when there are illegal dumpings or dumpings going on there? We certainly hope so. We certainly want to help the residents maintain a healthy and safe environment. But at this point in time, the most important thing for us is to continue our investigation to discover what factors contribute to the death, and from there see what can be learned to perhaps prevent this from ever occurring again.
Now, you've got the woodlands across from here, then we've got Shenandoah. This is what, just a small knit community of Tamina that's back behind here?
Correct. This is a rural area that, of course, is one of the oldest settlements in Montgomery County, especially the southern portion of Montgomery County. And as this community continues to grow and develop its infrastructure for water and sewer, it's important that we try to help them, and law enforcement help them by keeping these areas clean, free of rubbish, and as our community develops into what it has its fullest potential to do.
And your name again, Constable?
It's Tim, and the last name's Hollifield. It's Holifield.